So thank you very much for inviting me down today, David. Lovely to see you again.
Pleasure.
Could I ask you how long you've been interested in old engines?
About 40 years. I started when a representative who called on my business once a week, he was really enthusiastic about restoring an old engine. He took this engine to village fetes, and every week he chatted about the engine with such enthusiasm. And as most people would know, stationary engine collecting is contagious, and I was hooked. And I started, and my engine, a first Lister D-type, somebody dropped me off, and I restored it, and I went on from there.
Right, so how big was that? Is it?
No, it's only a small engine.
Yeah.
I was able to get it on a bench and work on it, and I restored it. I was amazed because I put the starting handle in at the end, turned it, and it fired and went the first test.
Wonderful.
So it really went well.
I wish I could get things to work that well myself.
No, we went on from there, and Dorian and I became both interested, and we started the Stationary Engine magazine in 1974, which we sent out to 140 people. And there weren't that many people interested in engines, and of course now Stationary Engine magazine services about 10,000 readers, so it's certainly gone on a long way from there.
And that's all around the world now,
All
isn't
around
it?
the world, yes. I mean, people collected overseas before, but the magazine has brought them all together. Now that's what it's all about. Wonderful hobby.
Excellent. And of course that turns you then into an author. I've lost count. How many books have you written so far? 14 so far, but some of them are only upgrades of earlier books. There wasn't the information available in the old days, and the early books were quite thin. And since then I've been able to add information over the 40 years and gain more experience and add to them, and now there's something I'm proud of. So that the last few years have seen a great improvement. Excellent. So why a Wolseley book now?
Well, the Wolseley book is quite appropriate because I was born in Birmingham, in Aston, and Aston runs right into Witton, where the Wolseley factory was. This was just sort of after the war, Second World War, and unfortunately I was too young to visit the factory, which is a pity because that's when engines were really being made and exported in large numbers. What happened was I became interested in steam and old bits and pieces of machinery in the early days, but only when I was interested in stationary engines did I go back to the factory. This was in 1977 that I went back, and they welcomed me, but sadly engines weren't being built then. It had all finished, and a lot of the older people had died and left and retired, and I couldn't find out a great deal. They gave me bits and pieces of pamphlets and catalogues, but not an awful lot. And as a result of that, I could put together a small booklet on Wolseley engines, but I didn't have enough information. It was only until, it wasn't until last year, 2009, that I acquired a box of old factory records and illustrations that I could really go to town and put together enough information to write a much larger book, which I think will fill the gap nicely.
Excellent. So how long has this actually taken you to write this version of the book?
10 months to write this one, and I got this rule where I try to write in the mornings and garden in the afternoons, but during the winter months, when it's wet all day, I do tend to stick at it all day and weekends as well. You've got to be quite dedicated to write a book, because if you don't do it, nobody else will. You've got to be mentally disciplined. It's a lot of hard work. I often say that getting a PhD would be easier than writing a book like this. I'm also on Stationary Engine Helpline, and of course every day get questions via email and get letters, so I have to deal with those first. So some days writing time is at a minimum. but it's been an enjoyable but hard 10 months, but I finally got there.
Excellent. So, when you're gathering this information, did you have to travel far to collect photos and stories?
Well, I'm the archetypal armchair historian, and my computer does the travelling. That's the wonderful thing about computers. I can be in touch with people in Australia and South Africa where the Wolseley engines mainly went, and I can get answers to questions. They can look at them for me and send me pictures, and I can just sit in my office and get all this in sort of overnight. This is what I've done. So no, I don't go very far. I've been to see a few Wolseley collections, and I go to the odd show, but I'm quite happy working at home.
And any plans for another book then, David?
Yes, I hope to revamp the Lister H2R, which is my old yellow book. I hope to tackle that next winter, but we'll see how it goes, because the older one gets, the more difficult it becomes, and with a helpline and all the inquiries and things to do, it's getting harder now, but I think I might tackle just that one, then hang up my keyboard.
Right. Okay, well, I have one last question for you, David.
Yes. Is it difficult?
It is difficult. I'd like to explain why a large crane appeared recently and started dangling over your backyard.
Well, that was in the 1970s. Petters at Staines had a collection of engines they'd acquired, old engines, and they had to move the site, move the engines quickly. And although I tried to find a home for them, I couldn't do so. And in the end, I told them to ship them down to me and I would look after them, which I did, and I've kept them for, since 1974 until last year, when Paul Evans at Internal Fire Museum in Wales, he offered to take them from me and restore them and get them running, and this is what he's doing, and I'm really pleased to see it. That's why the crane was here, and I'm glad the engines have gone to a good home.
Because one of them was very large, wasn't it?
It was 5 tons, and I really wondered about moving it, and it was difficult, but I needn't have worried, because the people from Internal Fire and local people rallied together to help me, and it went like clockwork. I was really pleased with it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for having me then, David.
Thank you.
Lovely coffee as usual.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing the book when it's
It was always
available.
nice to see you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.